Hey everybody, it's me, Zhanae, and welcome to a new episode of my podcast, The Power Is Mine. So y'all, this whole podcast is basically centered around, or I got the idea for it from an infographic that I found on Instagram, and I posted it onto the podcast's Instagram. And if you want to follow it, it's TPIM_podcast on Instagram. But the infographic that I'm talking about is the one that said things can coexist. And I felt like it really resonated with me because I'm super big on duality. And in my younger years, I definitely felt like there's no way that you can be strong and determined in getting things done and also be emotional. It was like things had to be super compartmentalized in order for it to get done. And I came to realize that the more that I would push my emotions to the back and like make them go so deep down, is the more that they would come out in other ways. And they would come out in like a way that I probably at the time wouldn't have realized, that if I would have just been engaging my emotions or learning to speak through them, learning to communicate how I was feeling about stuff, then it wouldn't be coming out that way. So a lot of the times when I would be sad, it would end up coming out as me being like super angry instead. Like it would just kind of be misplaced. And that's why I can always say a lot of the time a hater is just a confused fan, because if anybody's ever used that saying, then you know, like sometimes people love you to the point of being so confused and they just don't know how to express that love. So all the time, like you got to learn how to verbalize how you're feeling or how to engage how you're feeling so that it isn't misconstrued or made out to be something else that it's not, right? And this infographic that I saw, it basically has lots of different Venn diagrams, and one of them is growth and mistakes, and it, you know, the little middle part where it says they're similar. So things can exist at the same time, and that is duality. And you can grow and still be making mistakes while you're growing, or in the midst of you growing, you can realize where in life you made a lot of mistakes. And I have realized it honestly and thoroughly, y'all, because I've always been a fiery kind of spirit, and I've always been able to do things not necessarily without thought, because I would think them through, but I've always been able to do the things that most people wouldn't be willing to do, because I'm like, somebody got to do it. Like, we got to make something happen. And me thinking like that through a lot of my life has made me make some decisions that, do I look back and regret it? To an extent, I guess you could say, but not really. But I do look at some things like, I wish I wouldn't have had to make that decision. So I guess it could be seen as a mistake. But for the most part, I feel like everything is leading you on the path that you need to go so that you could become exactly who you need to be. But I want people to understand that no matter what in life, we all make mistakes. We all make decisions that we wish we didn't make or wish we didn't have to make. But overall, like, you'll get through it. I promise. Like, at the end of the day, it's just something else to just, you know, just take it to the chin, chip on your shoulder, whatever. But ultimately, you got to forgive yourself. And that's been a super big thing that I've been learning, which brings me to the next Venn diagram that's on the infographic: accountability and self-forgiveness. So this is a really big thing that I'm trying to figure right now, because, y'all, I have realized that I can hold myself accountable to the point sometimes of like nitpicking myself and being too hard on myself. And that's where grace comes in, because at the end of the day, this is all of our first time living. Yes, we are spirits that are having like a spiritual experience on earth and different stuff like that, if you want to get it extra deep and all that. But overall, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to meet people, and we're not necessarily going to do right by everybody that we cross paths with. My mom used to tell me that people come in your life for a reason, a season, a lesson, or a blessing. I'm going to say that again. A reason, a season, a lesson, or a blessing. So sometimes you can notice immediately kind of what somebody's purpose is in your life. And sometimes you can kind of misuse a person that would have been a blessing to you, or you just weren't ready at the time to notice what a person could have been in your life. But you can hold yourself accountable for who you were and who you are while still forgiving yourself and still giving yourself the room and the grace to be able to say, okay, well, I might not have known how to treat a situation or a person, but as I grow, I'm going to try my best to learn better and to be better, and that will get me through. And I just won't beat myself up too much, because holding yourself accountable is great until you realize that you're being a lot harder on yourself than everybody else is even being harder on you. And I've always said that there's no point in beating yourself up because the world gonna whoop your ass already. So why sit and nitpick and overanalyze yourself all the time? And honestly, being on a self-help, self-growth kind of journey for myself, I've realized recently that sometimes you just got to chill off yourself. Like, sometimes it's not necessarily good to always be over analyzing every single thing that you do and being like, why am I doing this? Well, why am I doing that? Why? Well, this isn't good enough. That isn't good enough. Like, you will never be good enough in your own eyes if you're going to keep nitpicking yourself. So you have to be forgiving of yourself, of others, of situations, of life. Like, things are going to happen. And that brings me to the next diagram on the infographic, which is learning and unlearning. So as you grow in life, you're going to learn. Like, you have no choice but to learn. Anytime you're collecting information, experiencing things, you're going to learn. And a lot of the times, life can harden you and make you, well, it can harden you or soften you. So everybody reacts to situations differently, and everybody becomes different people based off of a situation. Like, two people can experience the exact same situation, and they can become or choose to become two completely different people, depending on who they are as a person. But with learning and unlearning, you don't ever want to be so fixed in a position that you cannot become better, or you can't release something that isn't all that good for you. So if you have learned to toughen up your exterior to the point where you won't allow anybody to help you, which is something that I kind of have a little bit of an issue with, just, kind of over toughening yourself because people have kind of disappointed you or stuff like that. And now you are trying to unlearn that and be more open and allow people to come into your life and allow people to try to do things for you and allow kindness and stuff like that. It's okay. And you can be a little bit more open. You can give people the chance, because I realized in life where I had always felt like I was disappointed frequently by people, I ended up toughening myself up so much to the point where I just don't let anybody in. And if you never let anybody in, you're never taking the chance to experience something that could be so beautiful for you. So you have to open yourself up a little bit. In other situations, but that just takes going into yourself and figuring out what your issue specifically is. Sometimes we learn behaviors as coping mechanisms to protect ourselves, and it helps and it works. And I'm so happy for the younger Zhanae that decided to kind of harden up a little bit and become who I am today, because she got me to where I am today. But now it might be time to unlearn a little bit of that while still maintaining a little bit of it. Because while I've been on this journey, y'all, I've felt like I was just coming undone and unraveling every single thing. But who I was or became wasn't all the way that bad. It got me to this point, and it helped me to survive and live through a lot of things and still be able to be in one piece, so to say. But I no longer want to survive in life. I want to thrive. And I don't want to just be existing. I want to be living, So going from surviving to thriving and going from just existing to living is a very big gap. And it can definitely be a difficult thing to experience. Like, it's hard working through that, and it's hard releasing and unlearning a lot of the things that protected you and got you to the point where you are. But after a certain point, do you want to become so hardened that you won't let anybody in, or you won't experience new things, or that you can't learn new things that will be beneficial to you in the future? Or do you want to just stay exactly who you are and just never have any growth in your life? And that's your decision, right? So the next point that I'm going to come to is that anxiety and confidence can coexist. Y'all, I feel like this is me through and through, but I've started to, I guess to an extent, like toughen a little bit back up, because I realized people will want to hold me to a high standard, and I kind of start to sabotage that a little bit, or not even necessarily sabotaging. I'll say it like this, like, people will be like, you're so amazing, you're so great, you're so confident, nothing bothers you, you can persevere through anything, like, I wish I were like you, and I honestly would reply a lot of the times, y'all, I'm not confident all the time. I am not unbreakable. A lot of times the reason why I can appear as unbreakable is because I have been broken so many times. I'm still human. I'm still learning to live this life just like you. I've just been through a lot. So I realized that it kind of gets me nowhere to wallow in my pain. I have to just pick myself up and figure it out. However, at times it is a little bit harder to pick myself up. But when I do, oh baby, I pick myself up and I make some shit shake, for real. So in me trying to make everyone else around me feel more comfortable and understanding of the fact that it's okay to be anxious, it's okay to not feel like you're that girl every single day, it's okay to be a little bit weak at times, it's okay to cry, it's okay to this, it's okay to that. I've realized to an extent I'm kind of sabotaging myself, because I am okay with people being inspired by me, and I'm okay with people seeing that I kind of go through things and I overcome them, but I never really want to be placed on a pedestal. Like, I never want people to look at me like I can do no wrong, I'm perfect, this and that and that and that. Like, yo, you're just so strong. I mean, it's great to be a strong woman, but for the people that know, like, sometimes being seen as such a strong woman will get you mistreated, because the people that are seen a little bit softer get treated softer. And me having been in survival mode in so many different situations, I'm proud of who I was that got me to where I am, but I don't want to be treated like the strong black woman all the time. Like, I want to be allowed to be soft. I don't want to be seen in a masculine light, because I know how to overcome trials and tribulations. I'm not always trying to go through trials and tribulations. I'm not trying to struggle and suffer just because I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, see me as soft. See me as gentle and, like, not perfect. I'm not perfect. So a lot of the time I do realize I kind of might be a little self-sabotaging, or the second it feels like I'm getting too much praises, I might kind of be like, oh, let me fall back a little bit. I don't want this much attention. I don't want people feeling like I'm that all that great. But I'm definitely working on it, y'all, because I've had to realize that in order for me to become who I need to be and get to where I need to go, I have to stop standing in my own way. And I have to be willing to put the work in consistently to get me to where I need to go. So at the end of the day, I don't mind people being inspired by me, but I really do not want to fully and thoroughly and completely be a role model that has to be perfect and can do no wrong, because y'all, I do wrong all the time. I cuss a lot. I'm a little bit emotional, a little bit throwed. You know what I'm saying? So I think I just tried to overly humanize myself a lot of the time. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I can see where it hasn't allowed me to grow in some ways. But I just really want people to know that you can be anxious, and a lot of times I'm like powering through. I'm just trucking through. So you can be anxious and confident at the same time. You can be a mess and a beautiful, amazing person at the same time. So much things can coexist. It is called duality, y'all. It is the beauty of nature, of life, of love, of everything, you know, like a family, friendship, everything. So I'm learning to not be so hard on myself, but also still push myself to where I know I could go. And I think that's also a big part of why I'm not as receptive sometimes of like compliments and stuff like that, because I know that I could be doing so much better. And I know what my greatest could be, but when I'm not performing to the highest level, I get frustrated with myself. So that's where I have to be able to, let me see what would be the thing that you would call it. Be tenacious while also being gracious. Oh, I think that's a beautiful thing, y'all. To be a tenacious person while also holding space and giving yourself grace for not performing at 110% all of the time is a beautiful thing. I'm starting to learn how to really do that, because I will work myself into the ground and feel burnout and try to still push through and be so weakened because I thought I had to be on 100 or 110 a lot of the time. And y'all know I always say, like, comparison is a thief of joy. So I don't want to say it in a comparison kind of way, just in like an awareness kind of way. But I've noticed that a lot of the time, me performing and me feeling like in my mind that I'm underperforming, to a lot of people, they see it as like overperforming or doing great. And a lot of times we can be our own biggest critics. And I think just in general, when you're somebody that requires a lot of yourself and you know where you could be, you're just always going to be a little bit harder on yourself than people would be on you. And everybody's always going to be like, it's great, but you're always going to feel like it could be better, you know? So I'm learning to be able to hold space for tenacity and grace in my journey as well, because I know where I want to be. I know who I want 40-year-old me to be, and I'm still trying to be who I need to be so that 40-year-old me is grateful for all the work that I did, for all the sleepless nights I had, for all the not going out and having fun and stuff like that I did. But I still want 24-year-old me to be okay and not be overly stressed, and to be happy with the life that she's living, and to be gentle with herself. So I'm learning how to grow with that, and I'm trying my best. And it is a marathon, not a sprint, y'all. So I'm going to get there. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, maybe not next month. Hell, I don't know. But I'm going to get there. And I'm proud of myself for the progress that I've made and for what I've learned. But I'm also unlearning bullying myself to greatness, because that is not healthy. And once you've achieved the goal, you just feel super shitty. So it's just not good for you. I want to nurture myself to greatness opposed to bully myself to greatness, is what I would kind gonna say. So we're getting there, y'all. And that's just me learning to live with myself. And I hope everybody is as gentle with themselves in their journey as well. I'll see you next time.